You ever have one of those mornings where you're just standing there, half awake, coffee in hand, not a care in the world, then you blink, and suddenly you're surrounded by sheriff's deputies with guns drawn and some lady in a golf cart smirking at you, like you're the punchline of her favorite joke? Yeah, that was me. Barefoot, in my boxers on my own porch, just trying to wake up when a megaphone boomed. You are surrounded. Step out with your hands where we can see them. I squinted into the sun, trying to figure out if I was dreaming, or maybe still half asleep and missing some crucial context. Because 4 squad cars and a sheriff's blockade isn't exactly how most folks start their Tuesday. So there I am, frozen, coffee steaming in my fist when I spot her Tammy Grayson. Tall, green blouse, HOA badge clipped on, arms folded like she's the queen of the subdivision. Only, here's the thing, I don't even live in her HOA. That was literally the point of buying this land. No nosy neighbors, no one telling me what color my barn could be. But there she was, standing smug beside her golf cart, like she just rolled up to watch a public shaming. Turns out she called the cops, and before I could even pull on a pair of jeans, 3 officers started on my steps, ready for a showdown. That's when I realized this wasn't some dumb misunderstanding. Nope, this was war. Let me back up a sec. Name's Kyle Bennett. Used to be a construction engineer, but after selling my company last year, I wanted peace, real, honest-to-God peace. 19 acres, open skies, a couple of goofy Labradors named Scout and Duke, and no HOA. That was the dream. I spent months making sure my property was well outside the grasp of Hawthorne Ridge's legendary HOA. Lawyer double-checked the deed, everything ironclad. First few weeks? Heaven. Built a chicken coop, planted a little garden, put up solar panels nobody to answer to but the weather and the dogs. Then the drone showed up. At first, I thought it was just some kid, but it came back day after day, same time, hovering low over my barn. Day 4, I'd had enough, shot it down with a BB gun. That same afternoon, there she was, Tammy, with a smile like she practiced it in front of a mirror. We've had complaints about noise and unauthorized structures. I told her, I'm not part of the HOA. She smiled wider. That's what your realtor told you. She handed me a welcome packet, basically a stack of violation notices for everything from fencing to livestock to porch lights left on. I had 3 chickens and a rooster, nothing more. That was my introduction to Tammy. I ignored her notes, didn't show up for her mandatory orientation, didn't sign a thing. Figured she'd get bored and move on, right? Oh, I underestimated just how petty and persistent an HOA president can be. Suddenly, my mail went missing, packages disappeared, and one morning I found my garden trampled. I put up cameras, caught her golf cart on my property at 3 a.m. Filed a report. Sheriff shrugged. She's passionate but harmless. Uh-huh. At that point, I felt like I was losing my mind. Outsider, no one to back me up. So I called Joseph, Maliera, quiet guy, sharp as a tack. He dug in, grinned, and said, she's got nothing. But if she's using HOA resources to harass you, we'll get her. We documented everything, photos, timestamps, even put up a 10-foot legal fence with enough warning signs to make Fort Knox jealous. Then Tammy went nuclear. Filed a complaint with the county claiming I'd put up commercial structures, my solar panels, and the chicken coop. Claimed I was breaking HOA aesthetic rules, even though, again, not in the HOA. Suddenly, the county was investigating, and the sheriff's department showed up with a courtesy notice. Which brings us back to that sunny morning, coffee in hand, cops yelling at me to step outside. Then came the real curveball. Sir, we've received reports you're storing illegal equipment in your outbuilding. Explosives. I nearly spit out my coffee. The only things in that shed were a lawn mower, a chainsaw, and some propane tanks for the grill. No bombs, nothing illegal. I told the deputy to check for himself calm as I could manage, but man, I was seething. Told him, but when this is over, someone's getting sued. Tammy's smile slipped. Right then, Scout went nuts, barking at the back of the barn. That dog never barks unless it's serious. I ran barefoot, theater pounding. Smoke, not thick yet, but enough to spike my adrenaline. Duke was tied up, leash tangled, terrified, just feet from the generator. Someone had stuffed a greasy rag in the fuel vent, tried to light it. I doused the whole thing, heart in my throat, hugged Duke tight. That wasn't a prank. That was deliberate. By the time I dragged Duke back around front, the deputies had lowered their weapons. "Just tools in the shed," one said. I glared at Tammy. "Is this what you do to outsiders? Call in fake tips, almost torch someone's dog." She looked away. Now the deputies were more interested in what Tammy was up to than me. I called Joseph, gave him everything: photos, badge numbers, the works. A fire investigator showed up, then more deputies, even a neighbor wandered over. Tammy was off to the side, muttering about community standards, but nobody was listening now. A deputy asked her, "Ma'am, how did you come to suspect illegal equipment?" She just shrugged. "Anonymous complaints." "From who?" "I can't say. Because they don't exist." I called from the porch. Silence. It hit me someone had tried to burn me out. Not with paperwork, but fire. 2 days later, Joseph walked the land with me. "She's crossed every line," he said. "Trespassing, false reports, attempted arson, maybe even conspiracy." He drafted a press release, sent the story to the local Tribune. Headline the next week: "Man accused by HOA, but he's not even in the HOA." My inbox exploded, some folks cheering, some furious, and a bunch who'd been targeted by Tammy before. Things picked up. Sheriff's office opened a formal investigation. Tammy came back this time with a lawyer. I didn't meet her at the gate. "Let the cameras roll." Her lawyer tried to talk tough, but Joseph cut him off. "We have evidence. Police reports. Pending arson investigation. Prepare for court." He handed them a cease and desist. Tammy's glare could have cut glass, but she looked rattled for the first time. That night, a black box showed up on my porch. No return address, just a note: "You should have stayed quiet." Inside was a dead sparrow and an aerial photo of my ranch, dated 2 nights before. Another drone. This wasn't HOA nonsense anymore, this was stalking. Joseph called it what it was: criminal. I was on edge, dogs at my side, shotgun close, not sure if I was safe in my own house. But then came a break. Deputy Ramirez called. "We may have something, Kyle. Can you come down to the station?" They caught a black SUV on camera, registered to Alan Henson, Tammy's cousin, ex-HOA board member, kicked out for embezzling funds. Now he was the one prowling around with gasoline in the middle of the night. Still, no arrest. Not yet. So Joseph and I took the fight public YouTube interview, evidence on camera, the whole saga. It went viral. People all over the country told similar stories. Tammy had a paterna real piece of work. She even fined a neighbor 2 miles away for parking a tractor. That's when Lisa showed up. Former board member, nervous as hell, but she brought a flash drive with everything: drone logs, surveillance notes, violation letter templates. She calls it her non-compliant file. Lisa said, "Your name's at the top." She even confirmed Alan was Tammy's cleanup guy. I handed everything to the sheriff. But Tammy wasn't done. Next morning, I found the chicken coop empty, well, birds gone. Fresh boot prints, 2 sets, drag marks in the dirt. Another message: "You're not safe." So I went on offense. Joseph filed a civil suit: harassment, trespassing, stalking, attempted arson. Lisa agreed to testify. Emergency restraining order, too. Tammy doubled down, sent a formal HOA letter accusing me of creating a hostile environment. I put her letter on YouTube, read it aloud, showed the empty coop. The internet went nuts, 500,000 views overnight. Even local news showed up to interview. Mean caught Tammy parked down the road, watching. Once the cameras turned her way, she sped off like she'd seen a ghost. I thought maybe it was over, but then Rick Thomas, another rancher, called. They left me a box, too. Inside was a photo of my house, with a note: "You're next if you keep helping him." This was bigger than me now. Tammy was threatening anyone who stood up to her. The sheriff escalated the case, forensic audit began, and now it was a class action. I covered the ranch in cameras, motion sensors, trail cams, barely slept. Next time a drone appeared, I zapped it with a signal jammer, gave the SD card to the sheriff. What they found: illegal surveillance, dozens of families documented, audio, video. This was organized. County raided Tammy's office, found files, burner phones, private contractor payments. The whole community's safety, thing was a front for a land grab. National news picked up the story. Tammy got arrested. Alan was still missing. Days later, a white envelope arrived. No return address. You're not finished. You're just first. Inside was a map. 5 properties marked with red X-Men was number 5. For others just like me, all outside the HOA. I drove to check them out. First was abandoned. They took everything carved into a tree. Second, a woman named Natalie, pistol on her lap, her horses poisoned, cameras disabled, sheriff called an accident. She agreed to testify. Third, burned trailer, no one left. Fourth, Vanessa, got her own black box, garage torched after she refused to sell. I realized this was coordinated. And a date June 9, scrawled on a note. That night, I prepped like I was expecting a siege. At 9 p.m., motion detected someone in black, marking my fence with red tags. I confronted her late 30s, fearless, just smiled and said, "You think Tammy was the end?" Dropped a flash drive and a letter. Tammy was phase 1. This land isn't yours. The drive had every thingimails, maps, audio. Turns out Tammy was just a cog in something bigger. The land expansion and acquisition projecta, Shadow Network, using HOAs to push folks out and claim land for development. State task force got involved. More arrests, more stories came out. 6 months later, the ranch is quiet, new chickens in the coop, dogs playing, but the cameras are still up, and I check the gate every night. So if someone tries to bully you off your land, if you hear drones buzzing, if the mail goes missing, don't just roll over. Stand your ground. Peace isn't given, it's fought for, especially when it's yours. Now tell me, where are you watching from? Ever tangled with an HOA? Drop your story below, because if we don't speak up, folks like Tammy win. And trust me, they're counting on our silence.